Hello, you're watching Pop Culture on the program with Keri Smith. I am joined tonight by my co-host Mystery Chris, who's back from an exciting work vacation, conference, something, and
Yes.
something. And then also we're joined by special guest Royce Lopez from Revenge of the Sis. Welcome, Royce.
Yay.
Oh, hi! Very excited to be here. I like the topic, so
I know. So I just have to get this out of the way first. I'm so happy to meet you. I got to come on your show briefly
yeah.
and had fun. And I say this as a fan. It actually was Mystery Chris who turned me on to you guys a few years ago when he was red pilling me, and I used to like have so many laughs listening to you guys working out, and it just anyway, it's nice to get to talk to you now.
Well, thank you. See, he likes Trek. He likes Revenge of the Sis. This guy has great taste. I already like
Oh, and wait till you hear my inappropriate jokes.
Okay.
Well, I can't say them on there, but
okay. I won't even.
Keri knows. Keri knows.
I know his inappropriate. So if you guys are watching, this is the Star Trek episode that Chris has been wanting to do for a while, and I had to bring in another Trekkie because I don't know shit. I'm just going to be the dummy tonight. These guys are going to have at it, and then we're going to play a little game.
Oh, I'm so excited. So much. I have so much to say.
Where do we start? You guys tell me where to start.
Oh, I wanted to hear Royce's backstory. Royce, I don't think I've ever heard you talk about what got you into Star Trek.
Trek. Okay, cool. This is easy. So when Mom was a kid, right, there was a time there where Star Trek episodes would just be on TV all the time. Be a rerun on a USA Network, I believe. I want to say it was the network. Would just have replays of Trek, and I'm a big sci-fi guy to begin with, right? More of a Trek guy, not so much of a Wars guy, but I like both, But I was watching as a kid and saw episodes of the Next Generation, and I just like that. Like that's how I really got into it. Was the Next Generation. I thought Picard was cool. I liked all the mystery stuff, the sci-fi stuff, and then I've retroactive. I don't watch all the shows first run, but I did retroactively go back and rewatch all of them, even Enterprise. That's how I got into it.
So, which one is your favorite?
Don't do this to me. There's different tiers. Okay, here's what I'll tell you. Best all-around show is Next Generation. All around.
Okay.
About all around. If you take all the cast into effect, best captain. Now that's a different question. Best captain is, and I say this and I stand by it and I will never back down from it, is Janeway. I believe Janeway.
Really?
Yes, I never
wish she murdered Tuvix.
That's right, because you know what? She ruled with an iron fist. All right, Janeway supremacy all day.
Wow,
she's the best. I like Janeway.
Okay.
Janeway was good. Janeway drank coffee. She didn't drink none of that British tea. I like tea. Get out of here. Drink coffee. Be an adult. I was a real big fan of Janeway. But like my favorite one, of course, like I said, all around with like classic episodes is Next Generation, obviously.
Yeah. It's pretty
but yeah, I mean, but I gotta be honest with you. All around, DS9 is a very close second. It was DS9 is a completely different animal, but because I think it's like the first time they made a show after Roddenberry died, right? I believe we had no input in it. So yeah. And I'll say this, and I say this again without being ashamed. I liked Enterprise. I don't know why people didn't like it. I liked it. I'm a Bakula guy, Quantum Leap dude. So
it's grown on me over the years, especially watching the new Trek. Like, because I've always been very critical of Voyager and Enterprise, but going back and watching some of the episodes that I haven't even seen, I was really impressed. I still wouldn't put it at the top, either show, but I think they're a lot better than what I gave them credit for, and I guess that's easy to do with current Trek, but we'll save that for later.
Well, you have to tell us, how did you get into Star Trek?
Yeah, how did you do it?
So my dad's a huge nerd. He almost named me Jedi, so let's just tell you like how nerdy my family is. But he brought me a little diecast model of the Enterprise D when I was like 5 or 6, and I remember thinking this is a weird ass ship. But he brought me a copy of Mr. Scott's Guide to the Enterprise, which is like blueprints for the Enterprise from the movies, Captain Kirk version. And I just remember falling in love with design. Like it it sparked not only my love for Star Trek, but just like science fiction tech. And that's inspired me to become an artist, really, because I just love the creation involved. I love the evolution of the technology. The starships were beautiful. And, it's one of the big complaints I have about starships in the current series that we'll talk about later. But yeah, ever since then, I've been a huge Star Trek fan. I went to numerous conventions. I dressed up a couple times. I might be dressed up now.
What did you? Okay, hold on. No, I'm asking the question here. I'm turning it. What did you dress up as?
I dressed up as a captain. I had to be captain because I had the thing when I was a kid. Like I always had to be like more powerful than everyone else.
What
captain? I can see that.
What captain? Not Janeway, right?
A black one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that narrows it down. So Cisco.
It's just random black captain. I don't even have a name. That's how I'm in the credits.
You didn't go. You shaved the head, and you go with cool looking Cisco, not like nerdy season 1 Cisco.
Oh yeah,
like the Chad season 4 Cisco.
Yeah, Cisco from Hawk. Yeah, he wanted to shave his head in the first season, but the producers wouldn't let him. Did you see the Deep Space Nine documentary?
So good.
Yeah, they talked about that. Yeah,
they did the table read for what the season 8
yeah
would have looked like, and now I kind of want them to do it, but instead we'll get Discovery.
I know. So but that documentary is on YouTube for our listeners, and
it's on YouTube. It's on Amazon. Yep. It's very good. If you like Deep Space Nine, you'll really like it.
Yeah, they're working on a Voyager one, so.
Oh man, I really love Voyager. I know people people hate it. I know the Neelix. I get it. Neelix is annoying, but let's face it. Every Star Trek had an annoying guy. Wesley, Generation, and Deep Space Nine had what's his face's kid, the Ferengi kid.
Nog. You don't like Nog?
Nog was annoying. Nog was annoying. All right, he was a mediocre Starfleet guy and a C-class Ferengi at best. He's just stuck between both worlds.
I'm going to interrupt 1 second just to read the super chat. It's from somebody who knows you, Royce. Black Malice. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Says, look at this. My favorite Lopez moonlighting from his morning show. I say, good for you, sir. Great show.
I'm tired tomorrow. You know why? I stay up late anyway, so it doesn't matter. Probably watching Star Trek.
See, and one of the things, like I've gotten in conversations with a lot of people over the years, like people who don't like Star Trek. They're like, Star Trek's boring. I'm like, bitch, I watched Star Trek when I was 5. If a 5-year-old can enjoy Star Trek, then you as a grown adult should be able to sit through at least 45 minutes of some.
That's what you told me.
They stopped making smart shows because they stopped making smart shows. And look, you can go back, especially now when you try to turn people on to Star Trek. Hey, go watch Star Trek, you'll like it. There's an initial shock to it at first because the set is it's a cheap set. It's in 4x3. You have to get used to the fact that you're clearly watching. It's not all the bells and whistles and stuff, but this writing is like real. There's some Next Generation episodes. The writing is fantastic, right? Yeah. Like really well done. There's a message, and the good thing I liked about Enterprise versus like. I'm sure we're gonna get into it, but versus like a lot of shows now was like it gave you options and it let you decide on what you thought was morally right. Like there's some episodes of Star Trek where you're like, well, the captain was right for breaking, for breaking one of Starfleet's rules, right? But then you're like, but then again, that rule was in place because people do bad. So now it's just like these guys are bad. These are bad guys. Do you see they're bad? These are just Trump America aliens shooting at you. And really, that's what it is. And I'm like, all right, man, forget it. Like, how and the other thing is, think about this, man. Star Trek, there wasn't a lot of action. Whenever there was an action, maybe once every 5 episodes, there was action, right? Like a Borg episode where you're like, oh, we're going to blow stuff up. But there were some of my favorite episodes. No one shot a single phaser, and it was just smart and really well done sci-fi. And a lot of people always bring up that like, oh yeah, but people complain about Star Trek. Now Star Trek's always been progressive, and it has, and that's fine. But progressive in the way Bill Maher is a 1980s liberal versus a new pink-haired liberal, where there's this. We all got along. We all try to get along. It didn't matter who your neighbor voted for. We could all joke around, and no one took things seriously. And now it's just like it's this really really different kind of progressivism. You know, there were complete episodes on Star Trek where it was about people should be allowed to say what they want. There's a lot of stuff in Star Trek, the old Next Generation you play now, people go like, what a right-wing show this is. Look how right-wing they are. And that's, you know, that's how it is.
Well, so for someone who did not watch Star Trek, would you say it's kind of like late night comedy shows where they've always been liberal, but now they're leftists, and that's something different? Right?
Yeah, it is. They've always leaned liberal, but I also remember hours and hours of Letterman back in the day, younger Letterman, making fun of Bill Clinton, you know, and because it didn't matter what the political view was, it was like, wow, this is something stupid that a stupid person did. And yeah, now it's just like you have to Saudi Arabia has to make fun of our president because SNL's too afraid to. So
wow.
Yeah, the original Star Trek was more liberal. It tended to look at a lot of issues through more of a philosophical lens. And there were a lot of episodes in which Captain Kirk would go down to a planet and it would be being ruled by some alien or a robot, and the robot or whatever thought it was creating a utopian society, but it was in fact in order to create this quote unquote utopian society, violating these people's rights. Captain Kirk was a firm believer that all beings in the universe had natural rights, you know, universal values. That was something that was very reflective of, I think, a lot of liberalism at the time, and especially a lot of the writers who, you know, served during World War II. Gene Roddenberry served in World War II. James Doohan plays Scotty, was in World War II. A lot of them had that mindset coming in from, you know, that dark period of World War II going against, you know, the Nazis and Japanese. And so a lot of people tend to forget that its roots, despite, you know, some people want to say different things about the original series, that there was a more pro-enlightenment, you know, very pro-humanist element to the original series. And as things progressed, I think things became slightly a little bit more relativistic, you know, a little bit in Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, a little bit, even though I love those shows, but it got a little bit more relativistic, and to the point where now where it's just flat out cynical. And it's nihilistic. You know, there's characters that are doing evil things. Nothing happens to them, like the murder doctor. And
oh God, we could talk about murder doctor. Hey, trust me. Oh, so you just murdered somebody and it's fine. Oh, whatever. Sorry, that makes me so angry.
Yeah, it makes me angry too. It's just so many characters are not. They don't live up to the ideals that we know Star Trek to be, you know, things that were created, not just by Roddenberry, but by his fellow writers who were very good writers. People forget just how many like classic, you know, authors wrote for the original series. Harlan Ellison wrote City on the Edge Forever, which is considered by a lot of people to be the greatest Star Trek episode ever. But now you just have a lot of, you know, as Nerdrotic says, CW level writers writing for the show who the only way they know how to make drama is by giving everyone a traumatic backstory. And it's like everyone needs therapy in this universe now.
No, it's true. Everybody, like, it's never the other, like, again, my biggest problem is that at least old Trek, like, you know, you struggled as a viewer figuring out, well, who was right in this situation. Like, you know, we were joking about it before the show, but you know, the episode where Janeway had to decide, well, do I bring Tuvok and Neelix back, or do I kill this new creature? That, you know, it's like, that's one of those where like, well, I mean, obviously it's not fair to leave them separated, but it's not fair to kill one of them. And you kind of decided where the new one is just like, oh, all the ICE agents are cowboys that shock Mexicans. And I wish that was a joke. Like I know, Keri, you don't watch it, but I wish what I just said was a joke. But that was the point in Picard where they had to go back in time because of, I don't know, climate change or something stupid. And they're
it
back
sounds
there.
Like no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, it sounds like what they're doing in comics where. I'm sorry, I'm like two cars at the intersection. Okay. Oh, it just sounds like what they're doing in comics where instead of, they used to kind of give you these they're teaching you principles, and you, like you said, you're figuring things out. And now I feel like comic books have gotten a lot more preachy, and instead of letting you decide, you know, which is the more principled stance and weighing these things, it's just preaching at you, like you said, about climate change. But yes. I cut you off. Tell me, it's ICE agents.
Yes, so ICE agents. So then one of the captains is this Hispanic guy, and which is weird because it's a future and there's really no borders in this whatever, forget that. So anyway, this Mexican guy, and then he comes back and then says he doesn't have papers, he's from the future. ICE raids a medical facility that's helping illegals, and then they arrest him, and then they shock him, and all the ICE agents are rooting, tooting cowboys. Oh, we don't allow your Mexican cat around here. Like, what? First off, most ICE agents are Mexican. Like, let's start with that, okay? So before these lies, it's like, but most ICE agents are Hispanic normally because they usually try to hire people that can speak both languages fluently. That's just how it is, right? And then they shock this guy, and I'm like, so wait a second, there's no nuance anymore. It's just everything you're doing is morally right, and everybody else is morally wrong, and also climate change, and then trans issues.
They completely abandoned allegory on this past season, because the first season there was a huge allegory about refugees and illegal immigration, and it's obvious, but they were still trying to do the allegory thing. This season they just completely abandoned that, and they're just literally having illegal immigrants, and this character from the future who's being jailed because he doesn't have an ID, and like Royce is saying, all these racist white guys that are mustache twirling villains, like, oh, we're gonna get you. And they put in so many other things, like all these topical things like climate change. Like you're saying, there's a moment where young Guinan insinuates that Picard has white privilege.
Yes,
like
yes.
This is propaganda now.
Picard is from the future. The whole point of Star Trek, you stupid Kurtzman, Kurtzman. It's the writer of the new series. Stupid Kurtzman. The point of Star Trek, you boob, is that it's very simple. Is that in the future, race, species doesn't matter. So why would Picard, somebody who's come from that environment, ever go back in time, been there for like 2 days, and then apologize to young Whoopi Goldberg, or the actress who played young Whoopi Goldberg, because that's who it was, who played Guinan. But apparently, have him go, sorry, I'm a white guy, and it's like, what are you? First off, the world. You got to understand something, Keri. Here, in this story, this could destroy the world. Like, this is like world-ending stuff here. But before we get to the bigger problem, which is the world could end, that's why they had to go back in time, Picard has to go, sorry about my white privilege.
This sounds like the Batman. I heard there was a line like that.
Yeah, it's right on that level. It's awful. It's so frustrating. And I keep trying, like, I'm not trying to be a person that's just approaching all these series just already with my mind made up that I'm going to hate it. I keep trying to give them a chance to say, well, maybe this time would be different. And I know back ahead, I know it's not going to, but I keep doing it, and it's not. And the thing is, like, I felt almost like a tricked with this past season, because it does appear that they do hear a number of criticisms of the new Star Trek stuff. Like, I remember in Discovery season 2, they put in a lot more humor, or I should put that in quotes, humor. Like, one of the humorous pieces was a alien that sneezes on people in the elevator, and that's supposed to be like hilarious.
Oh yeah, no, that was funny, because basically what they did was they go, we need more humor. So they watched what Orville was doing.
Yes, exactly.
Orville right now is doing Star Trek better than anything the Paramount's doing. And they had a guy, the whole bit was, and it was funny, was this alien, every time he got into the elevator, he'd try to make awkward small talk with you, which is such a human, weird thing to have in a space show. But it was very funny. And then Discovery was like, what's Seth MacFarlane doing? And they just copied it, but they made it worse. They made it way, way worse.
They didn't know how to do it right. I'm going to jump in for 1 second with this super chat. Thank you, sir. Channel Julio, hello, good to see you. It says, slight tangent, the cloak of Doctor Who's TARDIS should be changed to a porta potty. would fit the shit writing, and they could rebuild viewership one concert at a time. Emmett's so much larger on the inside. Thank you. Yeah, I watched Doctor Who. Well, not anymore. Not since
not anymore.
Tenet,
not since the incident.
Royce, I wanted to ask you, I was thinking about when this kind of obsession with diversity in Star Trek started, and I want to say the 90s. I could be people in the chat, if you think different, let me know. But I remember in the 90s watching retrospectives on Star Trek, and there was portions of these retrospective pieces where they talked about the first interracial kiss appearing on Star Trek. They talked about Nichelle Nichols played Uhura, talking about how she was going to quit the show, but Martin Luther King told her that he liked the show and she decided to stay. They talk about all these things, which are fine. That's great. But it seemed like that was kind of the beginning where when a lot of people who don't watch Star Trek or only have a cursory knowledge of it tend to solely think about it as being diversity, and when it's so much more than that. It was just a very simple statement that, you know, humanity would get past that, and then they would tell stories about, you know, kind of humanist stories about human nature and society, but not reflecting it so much on Starfleet and the good guys. But it just seems to me like that seed started in the 90s, because ever since then I've seen more and more retrospective documentaries, articles that all talk about diversity, to the point to where now if you just type in Star Trek or whatever, you're guaranteed, like, all the articles, majority of the articles you're going to get are going to extol all the diverse cast and saying, hey, we got a gay couple in here, great for Star Trek, and acting as if it's completely unique, as if we haven't had like 50 years of diversity, not just Star Trek, but tons of other shows.
Well, no, it's true. And even here's the thing, it's like Jadzia Dax had like the first lesbian kiss.
That's right.
Right? On Deep Space Nine. And the reason that it was cool was because it wasn't. Here's the problem, right? I'm not one of those guys. I've never been like, I'm not one of those guys like, don't have gays in TV shows. I think that's stupid. Of course, yeah, there should be. But I think the problem is a lot of the times that's their whole personality. It's like, okay, but what are you besides the gay guy on Discovery? Because that's all. No, I'm not being an ass about that, but I'm being serious. Yeah. It's like, you have no personality other than your husband's the doctor. And I'm like, all right, but it was part of the story, because the bigger story was like, you know, she's, you know, her mind's been in all these different bodies, and she still remembers that she loved this person. But what do you do? How do you struggle? There was an episode of The Next Generation that would never air today. It's when it was when the first time that what are, I can't believe it slipped my mind. What is Jadzia Dax? What's the name of her?
Curzon or Trill?
Yeah, the Trill. Fine. So it's one of the Trill before they give them the spots on the neck by the holes on their heads. When the Trill was there and he fell in love with the doctor, and she loved him, but then they had to transfer his consciousness into a woman, and then she was struggling with, oh, you're a woman, but I still love you. But at the end of it, she goes, I can't be with you because I'm not attracted to you. And if you did that now today, they would go, oh, wow, anti-lesbian, love is love, man. And you watch that episode and you go, that was progressive. Back then was like, look, I still care about you, but this isn't going to work for me. You know, I'm sorry, but it's just not. And now it's like, there's literally on Discovery, because I'm a masochist.
Yeah,
watch it just to be mad. I know I do it to be mad. I get it, but they have had literal episodes that are about trans stuff and preferred pronouns, and like that was the overreaching arc, where it was like a non-binary person had the mind of her non-binary.
Didn't make any sense.
I can't keep up with the pronouns, but anyway. That whole thing, it didn't make any sense. And then the whole entire episode is about that. And it's like, okay. And then you want strong, powerful women, but Captain Burnham's crying every episode. Like, here's the thing. Whenever Picard cried, it was a big deal because he's the strong captain, right? It would be maybe once every 2 years, Picard would break down, and it was huge because his character was, I am the strong captain. I have to be strong in front of my crew. I even if I'm worried or whatever, I can't show it and whatever. Burnham is she? And correct me if I'm wrong here, Chris. She is perpetually crying.
Not just her, everybody's crying, and they're constantly going. Series, Keri. No,
this sounds like a horrible show.
Yes,
so bad.
There's a moment in the last season. You don't remember this, Royce, since you exposed yourself to that horrible stuff. But there's a moment where one of the characters, who I guess he saw his brother and his nephew die, and so he's traumatized by this. And they're in the middle of some battle, like sometime after that. and he freezes up during this battle. And she, Captain Burnham, Michael Burnham, is sitting in the captain's chair, and she presses this button, and this cone of silence goes over her. It's a safe space in which no one can hear what she's saying in this cone. And she goes, hey, Book, hey guy, are you all right? Hey, we're gonna get through this. She talked to him like he's a child. And yes, this is what the entire show's just devolved into, where everyone's constantly, again, with the trauma, needing to go to her to help her, or have her help them get through this. It's just that over and over and over again. And all these characters are constantly telling her how great she is. We as the viewers, we're not seeing how great she is. We're being told how great she is. She's perfect. She's awesome. It's awful.
Well, she here's the thing, like, she has nothing to overcome. She has, what is she overcoming? Nothing, right? Like, the whole hero's journey, right, is like, you have to overcome something, and she's not, because they're so afraid of insulting women, or they're so afraid of insulting a group. The gay guys to have no problems because you can't show them as being weak. The women are allowed to show emotion, but you would still make an emotional wreck a captain, which in no military would you do that, by the way. You wouldn't go, oh, this person's always crying, you lead the battleship. and that's it's this afraid to do anything. There was a scene, as a matter of fact, I just remember because somebody even animated a little cartoon when we talked about
it.
You saw that? That was a pretty good one. I should have sent that video. That was a good one.
Yeah.
There was a scene when they were, and I shit you not, they had a disco party in Star Trek, and I'm talking about listening to like Staying Alive. Like, it was really weird. And it was basically like, you're a military organization. And they were having, and I swear to you, a rave. They were having a rave in space. They were dancing. They were drinking space beer. They were getting drunk. They were all making out with each other. I'm like, this is a military ship. You can't be doing this, or whatever they call it. It's a military. They try to pretend the Federation's not a military.
Right. It is Starship.
And that's what it turned into. It turned into this weird pandering about, you're the bad guy. You're the evil one. You, the viewer. Because that's the thing with Star Trek is, with the original Star Trek, the Next Generation and Discovery and Voyager, I never felt like the bad guy. I always felt like somebody observing it and making up my mind. Star Trek, the new Star Trek has isolated 50% of their viewer base. You are now saying 50% of you are evil. You suck. Look at this future, look how great this future is without you. And it sucks because there's no conflict. Even the old Star Trek, because people always bring this up, they always go, well, look, this is what Republicans want the future to look like, and it's like a rundown shack or idiocracy. And this is what Democrats want it to look like, and it's a starship, and it's like the Star Trek picture and all that stuff. And I always laugh at that because I'm like, first off, you don't watch Star Trek, because if the future is so perfect, right? Why is Picard always got to be breaking all these perfect Federation rules, right? He's always breaking them, and they have the Prime Directive, which is like, oh yeah, you can't help anybody if they're pre-warp because they're dirty cave people, and that's really what it was. It's like, these stupid idiots we could cure all their cancer, but we're not because we made up some other rule. So it was this weird thing.
That's I think a lot of that was put in because of this kind of anti-colonialist movement that started
right
after the New Left kind of took power and in society. And so you have that of, again, this kind of cultural relativism where they're not allowed to interfere with certain civilizations because who are we to judge them? Like,
I guess we're the people with medicine that came to try. It's space medicine.
Do you remember that episode? There was an episode that dealt with that where there was like two species. One of them was like addicted to some kind of drug, and the other side was
giving them the drugs.
Yeah. And Dr. Crusher wanted to make a synthetic one for free that would be able to, like, I guess, get them off it, and Picard was against it.
Is that before or after Dr. Crusher banged the ghost? Because that was another episode that happened. That's one of the worst episodes of any.
No.
Well, no, that's not true because now there's new Star Trek. That's one of the worst episodes of old Star Trek. That I mean, it was even now. I'll still take that over your everyday episode of Discovery.
Yes,
and that's the other thing. And Chris, I'm sure you agree with this. It's like every episode now feels like a J.J. Abrams movie where we have to have a bunch of laser fights. Because see what happens is this, right? The writing is terrible, and I think it's because when you're so worried about so worried about pandering and so worried about making everybody happy and so worried about the social justice message and you're so worried about that, you don't have time to write a compelling story because there's no room because if you can't pander to the trans, if you're not going to pander to the black woman, and you can't have to play the black woman, you have to also pander to the gay guy, and then by the time you're done it's like, wait, what was the story here? Because I honestly feel like I'm watching Will and Grace.
I was just going to say, again, as an outsider listening to you guys talk, it sounds like they have the wrong writers. They have writers who, if you want to write a show about gay raves and crying women and social justice, write a different show. But don't work on Star Trek. Don't wokeify Star Trek. But I mean, they're doing it with everything.
Yeah.
And when I was working in comedy, the writer's room, it kills creativity. I was woke then, but looking back on it, I can say those writers, they would sit and pitch. This is for a late night show, Royce. They would sit and pitch jokes, and then they would spend hours taking things apart of like, well, that's a fat joke though. So, and take things out, and based on social justice rules. And you're right. It destroys creativity because now you're putting the message, the ideology first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That sounds like a nightmare. It's like you write all these jokes and it's like, well, that's going to make, jokes going to make fun of everybody. Like, I mean, what do you want?
Hey, Cole, if you're listening, I want to show because your point, Royce, about it looking like a J.J. Abrams movie. I kind of want to show a photo of the inside of the new Enterprise, and then I want to compare it to something that a fan did.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, somebody fixed it.
Yeah.
By the way, what's behind you, Royce?
Oh, this is the bridge of the original. Well, not the original Enterprise. This is Enterprise D.
Okay.
Cole, if you could go to the photos, the photo labeled Enterprise Bridge, I'd like to show, and then I want to show a short video that's called Star Trek Bridge Replacement, and it's very short, but just make sure when you play it, just mute the audio. But these writers, they don't seem to understand or care that Star Trek featured the best of the best, that people had to work to get into Starfleet, and that's part of the appeal of Star Trek. There we go. That these people were professionals, like you as a viewer wanted to be like them. That's part of the aspirational quality, because Star Trek was much like superhero stuff in which people looked up and wanted to be like them. But now it's like everyone has to be reflective of what we are now. So many people are dealing with depression and dealing with all sorts of other anxiety and mental illness and all these other things. And it's very depressing. It's the exact opposite of what Star Trek was talking about. It's about celebrating the best aspects of humanity. But no, they don't care. But here, so this is a picture of the new Enterprise. So they're redoing, they will be redoing the original series. But this show they're coming out, Strange New Worlds, takes place a few years before the events in the original series, and it stars Captain Pike, who is the captain before Kirk, and it has a couple of people from the original series like Spock and Uhura. But they say they're supposed to get Star Trek on track with this. I don't know about that, but here's a picture of the newly designed bridge. Now, I will say there are aspects of the design I do like, but ultimately I think it's over designed with the lights and the shiny surfaces. And so I wanted to play that video. Cole, if you could play that video, that Star Trek bridge replacement, and just mute the audio, please. But this is a short video that a fan did where they updated the look of the Enterprise, but still kept it pretty close to what it was. because you honestly don't need to do much to that original design. You can keep the forms the same, but if you just update the textures and the lighting, you can come up with something that doesn't look like it's made out of cardboard like in the original series, but something that fans will still love. And so this is just some guy who just put that together, and of course that's what the original bridge looked like. So there we go. Thank you, Cole. But yeah, you don't need to do much, and that's one of the frustrating things. And sorry, why I have you, Cole? If you could first show that picture that says Star Trek Discovery JPEG. Let's see, yeah, so this is showing picture of what the Discovery looks like, or they did a slight redesign. There we go. So there's it. And now if you could exit out of that, and I'm gonna have you bring up another photo. If you could click the one that says Star Trek Discovery redesign. This is what a fan did to make it look much more canonical, which is one of my biggest issues. There we go. Oh, so yeah,
it's way better.
Yeah, just imagine if they had gone with this. And this is one of the frustrating things about the people who produce Star Trek, that they don't seem to care about what came before it, because we're nerds. We love the continuity. We love the story. We love the myth. Of the mythos in Star Trek, but they seem to ignore this, not just story-wise and characterization-wise, but design-wise. And like I was saying earlier, one of the things I loved about Star Trek, one of the things that made me an artist, was seeing the future technology and seeing, all these things that people came up with that, even though we're fiction, were still inspiring. Like you heard back in the day, you heard so many stories about astronauts and scientists and engineers who said they grew up watching Star Trek. It inspired them to go into professions. That's like the power of Star Trek in a storytelling period. Like a lot of people are like, oh, Star Trek, why do you care so much? It's like, I care for it because Star Trek, and this, I think this is perfectly summed up when the last episode of Next Generation, where after Picard does the finish up trial with Q. Q says to him that, it's not about, exploring a star system or charting nebulas. It's about exploring the unknown possibilities of human existence. Like that line, it floors me, because that, to me, that's what Star Trek is, and storytelling in general is. It's about showing what's the possibility, what can we as humans achieve. And ultimately, I think that's roughly what Roddenberry and the fellow writers of the original series were trying to do, but that's just completely just ignored, and it's being torn down. So
are you saying that you don't like the new Q that's now in the Picard that's a jerk for no reason?
Yeah, who just shows up
for
and
no reason. He's just a jerk,
does like little tricks and things, and it's like,
now
is
this the Q that Trump people are
no,
oh, they might do that. Don't give them an idea, Keri.
I'm kidding.
It is Q.
It's the same one. Just really quickly, I'm going to put this one out. Doc Savage, thank you, sir, says life experience and actual struggle makes for good writing. These writers have had neither. Writing about stuff they don't understand. It's why it's whack.
Yeah, no, they don't.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You watch Star Trek now, and you're like, did these people even watch the show? Like,
No.
I'm not asking for much here, but at least kind of watch this. It's like making a movie out of a book you've never read. It's like, read the book first, right? It's just ruining continuity. There's no need for the inside of the bridge to look like I'm in line waiting on Space Mountain. Like, just make it so you could connect it. And I think that's the problem, is they don't care about continuity anymore. They have this IP. They have to use it, and they're going to use it. That's why there's Star Trek Babies, whatever it's called, whatever's the kid show Prodigy, now. And then there's Lower Decks, which is them trying to be Rick and Morty, but worse. And it's there's nothing good. And I know everyone goes, what are you watching? I don't know. I have hope.
It's
because I really, really like the character Picard, and I would love to see what he's like now. And like I was saying before the show, Picard now and the new show, just I feel bad for him. He's like Biden. They're just using an old man to make money, and that's what they're doing. Like, he's out there. Like, I tweeted a screenshot of the show. I was watching the show, and I just tweeted screenshots of the show as I was watching it, and I was like, what what is this? It's just Picard staring, right? He's just staring, befuddled. And I'm like, this is the cool captain. This is the cutest. This is the guy that took the Borg out. He's just a sad old man now. Why are we even doing this?
That's how my friends who are big into Lord of the Rings, this is what they've been telling me about Lord of the Rings. That they have this IP, they have the husk of this very beloved franchise, and they're just ruining it. They don't care about canon. They don't care about the things that, you're talking about, Chris, the nerds care about, continuity, anything that made it great. They're just riding in the husk of this thing.
Yeah, they're just putting in stuff that they like, stuff that they've seen, which is why they've done the tired old storyline about an AI that wants to destroy humanity. But that's so antithetical to what Star Trek is, because Star Trek has constantly featured androids and robots that lack some aspect of humanity, and in some cases want to gain humanity, in the case of Data, but ultimately they're lacking of humanity is what does in the bad robots and bad androids throughout Star Trek's history. But now it's just typical Terminator storyline where some AI from the future wants to kill all of humanity. They're just taking just the most basic, most well-known aspects of pop culture, sci-fi, The Matrix, 2001: A Space Odyssey, just all these things. They're just putting in a blender and putting it in the story. And it's not innovating. Star Trek used to innovate. So many shows and movies used to copy Star Trek, but they're not doing anymore. I mean,
Star Trek, it sounds like they're copying Sneezing Aliens.
Yes. They're just copying other things, just throwing things at the wall, hoping it sticks. And, like Royce was saying, they're putting out all these shows, which to me just seems like Paramount, again, understands that there's still some value in the brand of Star Trek, but they don't understand the brand itself, which is odd. It's like, how do you get to be in the higher up, higher rankings of a corporation and not understand the appeal of one of your biggest, most longest running, most profitable products?
I mean, I don't know. That's Hunter Biden in the energy industry.
Black Malice, thank you, sir, says Star Trek was one of the few things that me and my brother bonded over. That's why people are probably still watching it. Like you guys, you have the nostalgia. You love it.
It is. You're right. That's what it is.
You keep tuning in, hoping it'll prove you wrong.
And it never does. And it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And Mike, Mike, Chris, like you was called you like your Mersh. Chris, check this out though. Here's the thing that just really gets to me. It's because I think you're right. I think they did listen to some fans between season 1 and 2 about aesthetics and stuff.
Yes.
They didn't listen to fans about anything else though.
Nope.
Like, one of the complaints about the first one is like, why are all the starships looking the same? And then this season, oh, look at all these different starships that, by the way, we're not going to see because we're stuck in 2024 the whole season apparently. Hope you like Ford F-150s.
Yeah.
In your sci-fi. Also, excuse me, but that whole stupid Guyan is in LA in a bar called 10 Forward, and then it just so happens. Listen, it was called 10 Forward because it was on the 10th deck on the forward of the ship. Mm-hmm. That's why it was called 10 Forward, not because it was a bar that Whoopi Goldberg served at. Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. Sorry, I know it's whatever, but it's that kind of level. It's that level of not giving a shit. Like they don't give a shit,
and that's what
they don't.
And like I always ask questions like I don't understand, which I do understand because I know what's driving it, but I kind of ask that rhetorically. But the thing is, like, if you're someone who say is not familiar with a particular property that you've been hired to, develop or whatever, which I don't know why they would take that job, but if you're getting feedback from fans saying, hey, this is not on par with what has come before, you would think that not only would they spend the time to come to speed and really understand that, but they would also have consultants come in and work with them and help them, guide them. Like if someone hired me to work on Harry Potter, which I've never seen a Harry Potter movie ever, but if someone hired me to work on one, I wouldn't know what the hell I'm doing. But if I was greedy enough to stay, I know. But I was still.
It's arrogance. Okay, we had to put this up. Royce just
There
sent
it
this to us in the
This is the show. Sci-fi. It's like I wrote Picard. That's the fever. Look at this is an episode, and these are shot in different parts of the episode, and he's just like, "Where am I? What am I doing here? What is that? What are you doing?" It was so bad.
It does look like Biden.
Don't do this to me. Picard should be in a space retirement home.
No.
Oh,
Leave him alone. Just leave him alone. You know what? You want to make a show? Avery Brooks is around. Make a Cisco show. I'll watch that. He's still got all his faculties.
I think.
What's he doing on a beach? Is that a beach?
Yeah. Keri, you don't understand. You just don't get sci-fi like we do. For some reason, in the new sci-fi, you have to go back to 2024 and hang out in Malibu. I don't know.
I think it was a budget thing because I don't think the first season's really doing. I don't think it did as well as they maybe would like us to believe, and so I do think that the budget was chopped a bit, and they tried to relocate it in modern day to save on production cost.
Oh, you don't think the bots that said they really love the show really?
All right, yes. It's so dumb. And the frustrating thing too about Patrick Stewart is he's complicit in really helping to destroy his character, which I don't understand, because it doesn't seem like he's ever cared about that character, because it's not just his comments recently. It's like even back during the production of Next Generation, I read one interview or some story where he went over to Rick Berman during production and said he wanted Picard to have sex and fight more. And I'm like, that's what? James Bond. That's not Picard. Like you clearly want to have sex and fight more. That's not Picard. And the idea, guess whose idea it was for Doom Buggies and Star Trek Nemesis, which was
dude.
It was Patrick Stewart's idea. Again, putting in things that aren't Star Trek. He doesn't seem to really care. And I don't understand how it can be that way, because I would assume that in order to have given the great performances he gave as Picard, you would think he would have to do some kind of he would have to vent backstories about Picard and his history that informs Patrick Stewart's performance, and that helps him give these kind of nuances and idiosyncrasies to his character. You would think that he would really understand his character and want to get those performances, but he doesn't seem to care. Like he's good enough actor to kind of like not know or care about those things and still get a great performance, but ultimately he just wants to do what he wants to do and not what fans want.
Well, here's why, and here's my reasons. Here's what happened with Picard. Picard was just an actor in Next Generation. Picard who's just an actor, and to get him back, they had to give in to his demands, right? And one of them was he wanted to be part of the creative process of the show, right? And a lot of that became, what causes can I fight for? Like, what's the next? How do we turn a mirror into the current world? And that's what happened with it. It's like, this is what a lot of actors think they're smarter than they are. A lot of times they don't realize they're just playing pretend. And really, the writing is a bigger portion of it. If you write a good script, it can even outdo some flaws that bad actors have. But the problem is that Picard wanted to I say Picard because that's what I call him. So let me call him by I don't want to call him by his slave name. Professor X over here was really, really wanted to be part of the creative thing, because he wanted to look how I've evolved. But in reality, the thing about Picard that was always cool, right, was at the end of a really good episode of Next Generation, you'd always give like this really cool speech where you're like, this is why I came to the decision, and this is why it was a hard decision, and blah blah blah. And it was actually really motivating. And now he's just like, where am I? What am I doing here? Oh God! And also he has a new love interest, and in the show he's supposed to be 101, and he has a love interest that's, how old is she? Maybe 50. And I'm like, all right, man, like, look, good for you. I mean, I guess in the future you live older, but I don't think Picard needs a love interest.
Yeah, especially since he's a robot now. I forget sometimes. I go, wait a minute, that's not. He's not.
You have to remind me. Suffer alone. Sorry. He's a cyborg now. for
You
whatever
guys-
reason.
We got a $50 super chat. I don't think that's ever
Whoa.
happened on this is a new channel. Thank you, sir. I think you broke a
Thank you,
record.
David.
David Harvey says Abrams, whose company produced Bad Robots Guide to Dismantling White Supremacy at Work. Are you kidding? Is that a joke?
Yeah.
No, it's not. No.
And Kurtzman has already admitted that Star Trek also serves to push the message RIP Star Trek, Star Wars, and Lord of the Rings. Thanks, Amazon.
Yeah. He said that Star Trek was now about a platform for the social messaging, and that's why we're seeing it just get worse and worse. And
Remember when shows were about entertaining people?
Yeah.
Remember that those kooky days where you live when people put together shows. There's very few new shows that I even like. Reacher was good. If you want a show there's no SJW stuff and it's just really fun action show, I recommend Reacher on Prime, but that's not sci-fi. There's no The Expanse maybe, but even still, like, we've gotten to the point where we've become so desensitized when now they only give you a little bit of the message. You're like, okay, but it was only a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If not, I wouldn't watch anything.
Yeah.
If not, I wouldn't, because you have to go like, all right. A lot of the times there'll be a show where it's actually really good, and then they'll do something. You're like, whatever, fine, come on. Yeah, we know, whatever. Black Lives Matter. I don't care. Can you please get to the show part again, because it's good. and maybe Righteous Gemstones is another one that doesn't have any of that crap in it. But I mean, I can't really think of a lot of new shows that are like that, and specifically Star Trek, because they took Roddenberry's idea and they turned it into this weird Frankenstein monster of every cause, and even causes that contradict with other causes. And if I have to see stupid Wesley's face again doing that post show, I'm gonna lose my mind. I hate this guy's face.
He has to be in season 3 if they're bringing back all the other cast members from Next Generation.
Why isn't he a being of pure energy now, hanging out with that
the Traveler?
Yeah, no, we could come back. What? No, you know what? That was the best ending for him. He tried to help some space Native Americans. He turned into some sort of weird energy being with the bald guy who was Lurch and Adam's family, and we move on with our lives. I don't need bring everybody else back. Years ago, how are you going to explain why Worf looks the way he does when the new Klingons look completely different?
I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So listening to you guys talk about this and the way they've inserted wokeness, it makes me think of, now this is a reference, you guys are going to be in the outside because you probably never watched Days of Our Lives, did you? Soap opera. Okay.
Maybe.
Did you?
When I was like a kid. Hey, I was young. I was on drugs. No.
Okay, so there came a time towards the end of, like, soap operas were huge in the 80s and 90s, and then they started waning and people weren't watching them anymore. And so they started doing all these cheap things where they would put in these commercial messages in the writing instead of doing, and so there would be these weird scenes where, like, Bo and Hope would be having a picnic and talking about something relevant to the plot, and then she'd pull out a box of Cheerios and be like, would you like some Cheerios, Bo? And he's like, oh, I love Cheerios. They're so, and they would insert the message into the writing. And that's what this is, but it's woke. It's like, you've got it, the entertainment, and then it's like, did you guys know Black Lives Matter? It's like, like, they're just inserting it like those cheesy commercials and soap operas.
It's so jarring that they're just being so abrasive in front. It's like, if you didn't get the message from the first season, we're just going to make it even more obvious by literally saying it. There's like no subtlety whatsoever. And it's frustrating because Star Trek used to comment on a lot of larger themes related to society and humanity. But this seems to be just topical. It's just all the buzzwords, all the buzz things that people care about. They're just inserting it. And that's one of the frustrating things about the, I don't know, Royce, if you've watched the Foundation series on Apple.
Really like half of it. That's the only way to describe it, because there's some really good writing in it. There's some good stuff, but then, like you said, there's these weird speed bumps of also we're going to change the race and ethnicity of every character now. And I'm like, the writing is good, but why did you need to sex swap them? Was there a reason for it?
Yeah. Well, Foundation, if you don't know, people in the audience, that's based on one of Isaac Asimov's series, and it's about a fall of an empire. And the guy developing the show, David S. Goyer, he's done some really good stuff like Blade 1, Blade 2, He's co-writer for the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, but he's also done some bad things like Blade 3, Batman versus Superman, and this is the most unforgettable one, Terminator Dark Fate, which was the last one that just came out. So I was reading an interview where he talked about needing to put in these modern social justice stuff into the story. And I got so angry because this guy apparently doesn't know or doesn't care that Isaac Asimov, before he came up with the Foundation, the original trilogy, he had read a book called The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. And if you know anything about the Roman Empire, numerous things contributed to its collapse, but things like, debasing the currency, loose borders, overexpansion of the military, things that kind of sound similar to things we're experiencing today, because these things are timeless. They're things that keep occurring in society after society after society. There's no need to update that to the modern, things like, we got to put in Black Lives Matter and climate change. Like, there's a character in there who's from a planet that the people on this planet essentially don't believe in science, and the waters on this planet are rising, and she's like the only one who believes in math and science and stuff, and civilization ends up collapsing because they're so ignorant of science.
Is her name Greta?
Nah. How dare you, Keri? But yeah, so yeah, it's so frustrating when things could be so much better. There's just so many things about human nature that we could put in there, things that we could all, we can all resonate with. But
universal.
Have you seen Raised by Wolves?
Yes, I have.
That's very good.
I like Raised by Wolves.
You know why? Because Raised by Wolves is one of those where you're like, and this is how I know it's a good show, and this is what Star Trek used to be, and a lot of episodes why I liked it. Raised by Wolves, every episode you're like, wait, are those the bad guys? Wait, no. Are those the bad guys?
Right.
Because there's a lot of everyone's in flawed, but not flawed in a way where they've been traumatizing in Star Trek, but it's like their belief systems contradict other belief systems,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're like, well, that guy has a point, but then you're like, oh, well, this other guy also has a point. For those who don't know, Raised by Wolves is, and I won't spoil anything, but this is just a quick concept: is the world is ending, and they go colonize other planets, and there's groups of people that believe in a higher power, that believe in God, and they build a spaceship, and there's a group of people that believe in science. Does that sound familiar? And that's their God, and then the entire show is contradicting points of like, actually, that seems to work better their way, and no, that seems to, when the whole point, at least for me, is like, both sides have good points, both sides have bad points, but anytime you get to any of these extremes, it's bad. Like it always ends up overwhelming, you, and then you have wars and you have stuff like that, and that's why. And it's Ridley Scott. That's another reason why it's so good. But I highly recommend Raised by Wolves. It's on HBO, and it's the kind of sci-fi I like.
Yeah, I love it, and I'm really glad. I hope we see more science fiction like that, because there's science fiction it doesn't appeal to the populace at large. Though fantasy does, but science fiction it's not as big as and sounds like you, Royce, would like it to be. And so seeing a show that's not a remake of some other show, and
you took the words out of my mouth, man. That's exactly what I was going to say. Seeing an original show is a jarring thing now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because did you know they're remaking Battlestar Galactica again?
No, why?
Because they're out of ideas.
No, are they
Why?
Are they swapping the races back? The genders back?
They're all going to be black.
All trans. Okay, I'm going to do a couple of super chats. This is Channel Julio again. Thanks, sir. Said, philosophical question. Could Picard share his experience with the Nexus generation as a box of Soylent Green biscuits?
That'd be really good. It should be called, like that it would say by the bell, the next generation, the new class. We'll bring Belding back.
Buford T. Justice. Thank you, sir. Says, Patrick Stewart is supposedly low IQ. William Shatner is supposed to be very intelligent. All of this destruction of beloved IPs is tantamount to cultural vandalism.
And can I say something? Like we were talking earlier about how the Next Generation crew, the actors, Patrick Stewart in particular, but probably most of them don't really care about Star Trek. Like if it's just a paycheck to them. But you can contrast that to the original series. Like, there's a lot more members, or were more members of the original series who actually gave a damn about Star Trek. And I've been really critical of George Takei, but I will give him credit that when the last Star Trek movie that came out, Star Trek Beyond, they made Sulu gay in it. Like, there's a scene where he's not even kissing, anybody. He's just holding a hand because, it's going to open up in China, or did open up in China, and they can't show that. But George Takei came out and criticized that because he was like, hey, I'm all for, putting gay characters in Star Trek, obviously. But his character Sulu was a straight man. He's a straight man. He has a daughter. That is his character. And George Takei was like, no, this is wrong. You're changing the character just for, because that's the thing to do today. And so I'll always give him credit for that. He said dumb stuff for everything else, but for that, I will give him credit.
Well, I don't understand. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just say I met him twice. I actually went to the gay games with him in Chicago. The gay games. It's like the gay Olympics. It's yeah, I know. This is back when I was working in comedy. I was working with Margaret Cho, and she was doing something at the gay games, and we hung out with him. And then I know. And then later we had him on our woke comedy show. Yeah.
What are they gonna do? They have to run the 100 meters in heels? Like, how does that work?
You didn't have to say gay Olympics. You just had to say Olympics.
Yeah, just the Olympics.
You can't make these jokes. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
One last one. Nicole Pratt. Nicole of the Mountain People is here. She says, I know jack squat about Star Trek. I'm just here because I'm forever Team Keri XO. I love you, lady. Yeah, listening to these guys, I'm excited because even though I don't watch it, it's sort of like when I go watch a football game with friends who really like football. I don't have to be into football. I just feed off of their excitement. So that's what it feels like.
Yeah, we're gonna make you into a nerd, Keri. Yeah, one of us. Google gobble.
Do you guys have more things you want to talk about, or do we play the game now?
Real quick, Royce, I just wanted to get your idea of how, if you think it's possible, could they turn Star Trek around? Do you have any ideas of what they could do?
There needs to be some sort of temporal occurrence that wipes out all the new stuff.
Yeah.
Just that's easy. That's easy. Write that off, no problem. Temporal occurrence that writes off all the stuff, and you would need to get rid of Kirsten, but they just hired him for like 5 years or something ridiculous. Yeah. So you would have to get rid of him. You would have to get some writers that actually respect the IP. Not a diverse writers' room for diversity's sake. But one that respects the IP. My thing is that I think Star Trek works better episodically.
Yes.
The long reach, the overreaching story arcs for a show like Star Trek doesn't really play well to the point because, and I know the difference is, back then every season had like 23 episodes, right? So there's a lot of filler and whatever, but a lot of the times those bottle episodes were better than their high budget episodes, but. I think it needs to be episodic. Not that there can't be an overreaching plot, right? Like there can be, but each episode has to have a plot where it's beginning, middle, and end. Here's what we learned. I think that they need to stop making it diverse for diversity's sake. I think they need to get. I mean, I don't know, man. It's like this. If I feel like saying like, I don't know, man, this car is totaled. How about this? Just make Orville canon and make that Star Trek. Honestly, what Seth MacFarlane is, because I thought when Seth MacFarlane was doing Orville, I thought it was going to be Family Guy in space, and it is not.
Right.
It's good. It's funny, but it's not. I wouldn't call it a comedy show. It's a good Star Trek show, and things have weight in it, and it matters. And every episode, we're leading towards something, but they're episodic and. I don't know that's the only thing I could say, but like make Seth MacFarlane in charge of Star Trek. There you go. That's my plot. That's my plan.
Maybe hire some fans as writers.
Yep. Well, they used to do that. That's why Star Trek was so cool back in the day for the Next Generation. And Discovery did this, and not Discovery did this. Excuse me. DS9 did this, and all of them did this. You used to be able to just submit scripts to the Next Generation. You would submit a script, and sometimes they picked it up. And sometimes you became a writer for the show. Like that's how it used to be. It was like, look, I'm sure there was a lot of duds, but if you were somebody coming up trying to do writing, if you were a writer, and you're really trying to get into something, and you could send a script, and if your script was good enough, they would say, hey, come on board. Okay, let's do your episode.
Yeah.
And now it's just it's an inner circle, and everything's done by a little group of 5 people, and 5 or 10 depending on what the budget calls for. Assuming it's 5 now. And they sit there and that's it. Look, this is what I saw on Twitter today. What's trending? We'll make that into Star Trek.
Hey, Ronald Moore, who, as we talked about, Keri, he developed the new Battlestar Galactica, and he was also a writer on Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and I have a man crush on him. But he got his job on Next Generation by submitting a script. I think his girlfriend at the time, like, somehow got him an in, and he got that job. But he grew up a huge Star Trek fan. So in fact, when he and Brandon Braga were writing Star Trek Generations, he wrote the scene where Captain Kirk dies, and he talks about how he burst out crying writing that because Captain Kirk was his childhood hero. It meant so much to him. Like, do you think any of the current writers cried when they killed off Picard?
No.
Or any of the character? No. I don't know who he is. I don't know.
I honestly think they didn't cry. I think they were emotionally invested. I think they were just thinking, okay, what do I have to do next? The show for Bravo? Like, I think that's the mentality. They don't care. You could tell that they don't. And this is sad, right? Like, this is a sad thing that I think is the problem is I think one of the downfalls of all these remakes of everything, not just Star Trek, but everything is like when you don't create something, you will never have the love for it as somebody who created it. Mm-hmm. And therefore, if you pass it down, down generation to generation, you're never going to be the guy who was like, hey, this is my vision. This is my baby. This is what I think. When you remake it over and over again, then what you have is people like Foundation's a great example. It's like, what does Asimov know about science fiction? We know better. Mm-hmm. And if you don't make something, why do you care? It's not to get too political, but it's like, if the government's giving you money, why would you work? Like, who cares? Mm-hmm. Who cares? I'll do something. I don't care about it. It's not mine to care about. It's the reason you treat your car better than a rent-a-car.
Yeah. Yep. I want to get so upset at Kurtz, but then I have to get mad at the people who employed him.
Yeah.
I don't know what their names are, but they're the ones, because not only did they hire him to begin with, they also negotiated or kept him on when they extended his contract. So these people who are paid lots of money I should be getting, you and me, Royce, we should be getting this money to Star Trek would still suck because I don't know what I'm doing, but it'd be better than what we have on.
Yeah, but at least we care about it. And that's the thing. It's like, that's why I say, Enterprise, the Bakula one got a lot of crap, and like, I'll take Enterprise all day over this, in a heartbeat, over whatever this is. And this is a great example, and this is why it'll be on forever. Star Trek Discovery has an 86% critic review, but only a 34% audience review, and that shows you everything. As long as you make the people that work in the newspaper happy, it doesn't matter what you and I think at all. And I don't think it ever will again.
Yeah,
that's really what the saddest part is.
I'm trying to hold out hope, but
fans need to storm the writing room.
Whoa!
We're taking over the writing room.
A little January 6th, huh?
We'll have a Star Trek insurrection.
Wow.
That was a good one.
Even I got that. Okay. Okay, are we ready for trivia?
Let's do it.
Yes. And one last thing before trivia. Just one last thing I wanted to say, because you were talking about Picard quotes, and this I think best describes current Picard, which is, they could fix it if they wanted to. And this was one of my favorite Picard quotes was, it's possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not weakness. That is life. And that's what it is here. It's okay to admit what you did was wrong. Mm-hmm. It's okay to take a loss as long as you're going to try to fix it. But I think the biggest problem is nobody accepts blame anymore. No. Nobody wants to. They would rather start a war in the Ukraine than admit that maybe their policies were wrong. As an example, just pull that out of my hat. Anyway, sorry. Yes, I'm ready for trivia. I'm babbling a lot.
Okay. No, this has been so much fun. Thank you again for hanging out with us, Royce.
I love it.
I love it. So you guys are the biggest Trekkies I know. We're going to see which one of you is the winner of Trekkie Trivia. So
it's gonna be him.
I think if it's Voyager Enterprise, I'm not gonna.
Oh, we don't know. Okay,
we don't know.
It's
I
fine.
pulled together the questions. So, first one, we're going to start with you, Royce, because you're the guest. So,
Okay.
let's see. C-3PO is fluent in how many languages?
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
You know what?
I had to get a joke in there. Okay.
That was very funny. Damn, that was really good. Okay.
Okay,
I was
here we
like, oh, okay. Go
Okay. Real question. In Gene Roddenberry's original treatment for Star Trek, what was the name of the starship?
Stargazer?
No, Starship Yorktown.
Ah,
No.
did you know that one?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is for you, Mystery Chris. Who was the first actor to play a member of all three of the major alien races? in
All
Star Trek?
three. I want to say Mark Leonard, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, Mark Leonard.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
That's
here's what
Spock's
we
dad.
should do.
Yeah.
You
That's a good
didn't
one.
you didn't know that first one anyway, but what we'll do now is if the person I give it to doesn't know it, then the other person can steal it for 2 points.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So now this one's for Royce. Let's see. What two stars of Star Trek Deep Space Nine were married in real life in 1997?
Oh, oh,
I know.
oh, you know it? Oh, let me have to get it. Hold on. I pass. I don't know off the top of my head.
No.
Ah,
That's
You know?
Alexander Siddig and Nana Visitor.
yes.
Yeah.
You are such a nerd.
I know.
I'm getting these wrong on purpose to look.
Okay, this is for you, Mr. Chris. What is Sulu's primary position in the USS Enterprise?
I want to say helmsman.
That is correct.
Oh, he got the easy one. Okay, fair
Oh.
enough.
Okay. This one's for you, Royce.
Mhm.
Which Star Trek captain has an artificial heart?
Oh, that's Picard.
hmm
Ding, ding, ding.
He got
Correct.
stabbed in it.
Yeah, it was a good episode. Ronald Moore wrote that episode.
Yeah, then he
But
went back in time and slept with his college sweetheart.
Is it a robot heart?
It is a robot
Yeah.
heart. And guess what? Now all of him's robot. Sorry.
Yep.
I'm not. We're doing trivia. Go ahead.
This is for you, Mystery Chris. Captain Picard has an artificial heart because a member of what species stabbed him?
Nausicaans.
Ah, that was good.
Correct.
Yeah, he was right.
Don't judge human.
This one is for you, Royce. Who was the first real astronaut to appear in any Star Trek episode?
Real astronaut?
Real
I think I
astronaut.
know.
Buzz Aldrin?
Nope. Do you know?
Oh!
I think it was Mae Jemison.
Correct.
Yeah.
Royce, did you know that one?
Yes.
Oh man.
That's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Here's one for this is for you, Mr.
No,
Chris.
it's destroying me. Yeah.
NBC rejected the pilot for Star Trek. What famous comedian got them to take another look?
Lucille Ball.
Ah, correct.
This is a massacre. Stop it. I'm already dead.
This one's for Royce. What is Deanna Troy's favorite food?
Rocky Road ice cream.
I know it.
I'm right.
I
Can
think
say
you're
it?
sort of
Can I say
right.
it?
Is it ice cream? I mean, it's
Can I
ice
say
cream.
it?
What do you say, Mr. Chris?
Chocolate ice cream.
No, but she has Rocky
Or was
Road.
it chocolate
No.
cake?
Okay, well maybe this
It was
is
chocolate.
wrong. This doesn't. I'm not
I'm
going
sure
to
it's
award.
chocolate.
It just says chocolate. It doesn't say ice cream. And both.
Well,
of you
I
said-
remember watching her eat lots of ice cream and watching.
Yeah,
it.
I remember she always used to go there when she was all like depressed because Riker or whatever.
Mhm.
It's okay. I googled it just because I have to know.
You have to Google it.
It was a triple chocolate sundae. So I feel like
I'm going to award that to you. Yeah, I think that you're right.
okay.
Okay,
had to
Royce.
It's gonna bother
That's
me if I
good.
didn't.
You've got two now.
All right. Yes, good team, Royce.
Okay, Mystery Chris. What weapon did Kirk and Spock use when they fought for possession of T'Pring during Spock's Ponfar ritual and Amok time?
I actually don't know the name of the. I could draw it.
Do you know?
Oh God, I don't know the name of the weapon. No, I could tell you that they made fun of it in Liar Liar. Not Liar, Liar. Cable Guy.
Cable Guy, yeah. The medieval times. Yeah. Ben Still is a huge Star Trek fan.
It's called a Lurpa.
Oh.
Okay, I believe you.
Okay, this one's for Royce. Who was originally cast as Captain Janeway?
They even filmed an episode with her.
Yeah.
But I don't remember her name. But then she left because the work hours were too long. What was her name? I don't remember her name, so I'm gonna have to say I don't know.
You know?
I don't remember her last name, but I think first name is like Genevieve. Something.
It is Genevieve. Genevieve Bujold. I'm not gonna award a point for that though.
Son of a.
Well, you're already a runaway horse anyway.
Thank you for making me feel better. I don't need a participation trophy. Give it
Okay, I'll give it to him.
There you are. I'll take my beating like a man.
I grew up with siblings. This is how we would be like, well, you got this.
It's fine. I'm happy I got this ice cream one.
This is for you, Mystery Chris. Tiger, come here, stop. Mystery Chris, which character serves as the head of security for the space station Deep Space Nine?
Oh, that's easy. Odo,
correct.
Yeah, but not every episode. There were other episodes where somebody else came. I'm kidding. He's right, of course.
This one's for you, Royce. Who created the Bajoran wormhole? Bajoran.
Who created the Bajoran wormhole? Bajoran wormhole was created. It was the person or the species?
It looks like a species answer.
Okay, so I believe the wormhole was created by the what's the name of the creature? What are they called? I'm gonna guess here because I know I'm not right, but I'm gonna assume it was the Cardassians, but I'm wrong.
It's the do you know, Mr. Chris?
The Prophets.
The Prophets.
That's not the real name of the species, by the way. That's what they called them.
What is the name? Do they have a name?
No, you're right.
Are you gonna look that up now?
No, I'm gonna he's giving all the points.
Okay, 2 more questions. This one's for Royce.
Yay.
Oh.
Let's go. Come on, I'll take my beating. I will die on my feet.
What type of weapons technology does a phaser use?
What type of weapons technology?
I feel like you're getting the harder questions.
Yeah,
honestly.
what type of weapons technology does a phaser use? Like, hold on a second, because I'm trying to specifically, what do you mean? Yeah, like I don't understand the question. Phaser would use phaser technology with like it's not like a Kyber crystal like Star Wars. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I think this is a crap question. We're taking it out. I'm going to give you a different question.
That was a weird one.
Particle beam weapons? That's what it
said. That's not fair.
Yeah. We're taking that out.
Like what made it work?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
In which Star Trek series, Royce, did writer Larry Niven introduce the cat-like alien race, the Kensi, into the Star Trek universe?
The cat-like Who was the writer?
Larry Niven.
Larry Niven, cat-like alien race. I want to say it was the original series.
Star Trek, the animated series.
Yeah, I was going to say animated.
Oh, but that's...
I'm sorry, Mr. Chris.
No, yeah, I know. But technically, the animated series was... Forget it.
I just remember the anime series. They had a creature that was like a giant bird. And I was like, where are those creatures in the live action one? Bring those back.
The Klingons didn't have anything on their heads in the live action. Much makeup.
Is the animated series where they had the gay rave?
No. The animated series it was based off of the original series. It was the same crew, kind of.
Yeah, it was really well written. It was a kids show, but they still wrote it as if it was like a regular episode. Compare that to Lower Decks now, which is
and it had that
garbage.
like weird Johnny Quest kind of animation.
Yeah.
In it.
Cheap animation.
Yeah, it's very cheap.
Okay. This is for you, Mystery Chris. What species known to the Borg as Species 329 were deemed unworthy of assimilation?
Ooh, that's a good one. This is a Voyager one, Royce. Let me give it to Royce.
I believe. Well, was it a Voyager one?
I want to say it.
Yes, Voyager was very Borg heavy.
Yeah.
Do you guys give up?
I mean, who's is it my turn? Wait,
go ahead, Royce. I don't know.
Mystery Chris's turn.
I want to say the Kazon.
Yeah.
Oh,
hey!
Nice.
Kazon was Voyager. Yeah, the Kazon. Yeah, because they had to write themselves out of a little plot hole there.
Yeah, and Klingons of the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah, I love the Delta Quadrant. So much cool.
I actually have two more because there's a fun one in here. I think. Let's see. This is for you, Royce. In the Mirror Universe, what has replaced the United Federation of Planets?
I'm not going to say the Confederacy of Planets because that's a new Picard bullshit. That's what's in my head. No. I got this. Give me a second. It's not the United Federation of Planets. It's the. Oh my God! It's an Enterprise 2 in the Mirror. There's entire seasons in the Mirror Universe. I give up.
Can I say it?
Do you know it?
Terran Empire.
Correct, you nerd.
By the way, the Terran Empires of Enterprise were the only ones with a good song intro because they didn't have to play Faith to the Heart.
Yes, that was a great intro.
Yes,
I love that.
Okay, last question now from Mystery Chris. Data had a cat. What was his name?
So easy. Spot.
Correct.
Do you know the poem? Do you know Spot's poem?
No.
Hold on. That was Data Spot. I'm gonna read. I don't care. I'm gonna read it. I know we can't play it because they'll copyright it, but I could read it. An ode to Spot. Okay. Felicius catus is your taxonomic nomenclature, an enthothermic quadruped, carnivorous by nature. Your visual, olfactory, and auditory senses contribute to your hunting skills and natural defenses. I find myself intrigued by your subvocal oscillations, a singular development of cat communications that obviates your basic hedonistic predication for the rhythmic stroking of your fur to demonstrate affection. I'm not going to keep going on the whole thing, but I love it.
But that's attention to detail. Like whoever wrote that loved writing that for him, you know?
Yep.
Like
and it's on character for Data because he's a robot that's trying to be human.
By the way, I do see you in the chat correcting my pronunciation of Data. I know who Data is. At least I know that much. I said it wrong. Yeah.
Data, baby. Data's the best. Not so much the fact that now in Picard, Chris, apparently everybody in Sonen's family looks like him.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of inbreeding
because he used the same actor. Brent Spiner. So then now Data's great grandfather, not Data, Sonen, the guy who created Data's, looks like Data. And then his father looks like Data, and his great grandfather, and then his great grandfather, and then in Enterprise, his great great grandfather, and then his great 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 because they can't write themselves out of a paperback.
You're like, yeah, what a coincidence! Oh,
wow, the family must have inbred, I guess.
Yeah.
Not everyone looks the same. I don't look like my grandfather. I mean, I look kind of like him, but he doesn't look exactly like me. Sorry, I don't mean to be angry. It's just so sad.
It is. It's. I don't know.
It was very nice to vent. It felt good.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Good.
I really enjoyed hearing you guys vent. It made me laugh. This was a really fun show. I appreciate you coming on.
I had a blast. This is great.
Question, Keri. There are a couple of videos I want to show. It's a clip, or someone edited a clip of TNG. Do you think we'd be okay? We showed. It's like a minute long. They edited it. If not, it's no big deal. If you know.
I don't know, because we just got that strike.
Right.
I wouldn't play any TNG just to be safe.
Yeah.
They're bad.
All right.
Cool. They're bad. But this is true, and Cole posted it in there, and this is a real fun fact that's actually true. Jerry Ryan, who played 7 of 9, is responsible for Obama becoming president. Okay, and this is true. This is 100% true. And I've read this, so I know this is true. It's Jerry Ryan, who played 7 of 9 in Voyager, was married to a Republican senator candidate, Jack Ryan, in the early 2000s. He was running against Obama for senator. His 2004 campaign got widespread media attention due to an unsealed custody documents from their divorce, full-on weird sexual allegations from Jerry Ryan. Jack Ryan withdrew from his campaign, and Obama won the Senate seat, which, of course, led him to become president. Star Trek is the reason Obama became president.
What? I'm so glad you brought that up, because I saw that in that Cole sent us that,
It's
and I was
legit.
like, I don't understand, because I didn't know who these people were.
Wow. Yep.
That's crazy. It's like when a butterfly flaps its wings.
I saw that terrible Ashton Kutcher movie. Butterfly Effect.
Oh yeah,
remember that movie? Yeah. Oh yeah, now my fat friend's okay because of my butterfly effect. Just stop, Kutcher. Just stop.
That should be the tagline of the movie. Friend's okay.
Butterfly effect. This was fun. I'm sorry. I don't know how long your show's supposed to normally.
Yeah, we just hang out for whenever. I think we've reached a good ending point.
Yeah.
And Royce, you are welcome anytime to come hang out with us. We usually do topic-specific stuff. Also, I'd love to interview you sometime.
Hell yeah, I'm always down. And you're always welcome on our show too, both of y'all.
Awesome.
So
well, thank you.
Cool.
Thanks for being here, Royce.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I had a blast.
It's awesome. I always have so much pent up Star Trek stuff. I'm trying to tell people at work, they just look with blank stare at me. Like,
it was a good release. It was a good release.
It was. Felt good.
Oh,
felt good.
Tell us. Okay, right before we go, do you have another quick minute, Royce?
Yeah.
Tell us what happened at your work.
Oh, me?
You're going to tell us. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I went on a business trip last week, and as we were on a plane, this was in Dallas, they said, oh, it's going to be about 7 minutes till we take off. I was like, okay, cool. So as we're sitting there, suddenly everything cuts off. The electricity, the lights, the air conditioning, everything. So we're just sitting there in the dark for like 10 minutes. They're not saying anything to us. And so I'm thinking, like, should I get off the plane? And so they come and they say, hey, we're going to deboard the plane. And I was like, okay, cool. And they're like, we're fixing the plane. And I'm thinking, okay, even if you quote unquote fix this plane, I'm not getting back on that damn plane. And so they end up giving us a new plane, and we made it to our destination all right. But it did nothing to soothe my anxiety of like flying. You know, as I've gotten older, I've become more anxious about flying. So I don't know what happened, because that's always my fear, just being in the air. Suddenly everything.
Oh, I didn't know you were afraid of flying.
I don't say afraid. I just I don't.
You know, yeah, I get it.
Hey, at least your flight didn't get canceled. And you had to drive 17 hours to Texas.
Yeah. Oh wow, jeez.
Royce and I both. You were in Spirit, right?
Yeah, because I was seeing you tweeting, and I'm like, okay, so it's not just me. I thought it was just me, but then you, and then a few of my other friends were like, my flight was canceled. Spirit, my flight was canceled. Spirit, my flight was canceled. I'm like, wow, there must be a problem. And then a lot of people are like, oh, why do you take Spirit? I'm like, I don't think you understand. There's not as many planes flying anymore. If you want to get to certain places, it's Spirit or Frontier, and that's it. Like, you pick your poison. And then they canceled it. So then I was in Orlando, Florida, and I had to be in Dallas, Texas by the next day. So I had to rent a car and drive 17 hours to Dallas. Yeah.
That sucks.
I
got stuck in Newark overnight. And they were
sorry.
Well, I stayed with a new friend I'd made that weekend. It was great. It was actually ended up being really fun. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they were lying to us, outright lying. They were telling us it was the weather, but they had canceled. I was in a 2.5 hour line, and there were people around me I was going to Texas. There were people going to Vegas, Atlanta, but then there was no weather outside, but they said it was weather. But then they had another line with people who were taking flights. And it's like, well, then why isn't the weather grounding them? Like the weather, they just didn't want to pay to put people up in hotels. So they said, act of God,
Yep.
The weather.
It's the worst. They do it.
Jeez.
They do it all the time. They always say the weather, and I was like, it's not. Look, first time they go, oh, it's the weather. We can't. And then I drove from Florida to Texas, and we got no raindrops. There's no weather. The problem is that they don't report this because it doesn't count as people leaving because of the vax mandate, but because of the vax mandate, a lot of pilots have chosen to early retire, and that doesn't count like they're quitting. So they have no pilots, and they did it to themselves, right? Nobody wants to work, and a lot of pilots that were like, oh yeah, you have to give action. Like, oh, forget it. I'll retire and become a private plane pilot. They don't make me do anything. I do whatever I want. So that's the reason all the flights are down. It was not the weather.
Right. I'll fly Lizzo around.
That's right. Operation Dumbo Drop.
When a butterfly flaps its wings. There's a joke in there.
I don't want to see her flap anything. Okay? You kidding me? Oh man.
Thank you guys in chat for hanging out with us. We're going to wrap it up now. I'm going to roll this video. If it's your first time here, this is a new channel if the algorithm brought you here. So make sure you hit like and subscribe and do all those things. And I'll see you later. Thanks, Royce. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. A lot of fun. Bye, guys.
Yeah. Bye.